The terrible tragedy that rocked Newtown, Connecticut is turning political. Guess what? Yeah. Today, President Obama takes up the issue of gun control.
Others say the real problem is our mental health system, and both sides are debating which issue threatens our safety the most. Jennifer Wishon examines the controversy.
In the midst of the grief in Newtown, there are many questions. What if the shooter had no access to the guns? What if he'd received proper mental health treatment? And what if the principal or teachers had weapons to protect themselves and their students? All mass shooting tragedies spark gun debates. Who should have them and what kinds? But this tragedy here in Newtown, coming on the heel of too many others, with victims so young, is sparking a debate neither the White House nor Congress expected.
These tragedies must end.
President Obama promises to use the power of his office to push for a ban on the sale of assault rifles. Legislation should be introduced in Congress next month.
It will ban the sale, the transfer, the importation, and the possession, not retroactively, but prospectively. And it will ban the same for big clips, drums, or strips of more than 10 bullets.
The president also wants to close the so-called gun show loophole. That allows the private sale of guns without background checks on buyers. New polling suggests the national mood on guns may be shifting. A CBS poll taken after the shootings reveals 57% support stricter gun laws. That's up 18 points from April. Gun control advocates are seizing the moment, protesting outside the NRA headquarters and applying heat on Capitol Hill.
Every year in America, 100,000 Americans are shot.
People like Colin Goddard.
I was shot 4 times on the morning of April 16, 2007 at Virginia Tech and survived. I'm here for the 32 that didn't.
The other wrinkle in both the Virginia Tech and Sandy Hook massacres, shooters with histories of mental health problems.
I think we absolutely should talk about the intersection of a lethal weapon and it relates to mental health.
5 years after Virginia Tech and 20 states still don't require a potential gun buyer's mental health history to go to the national background check system. According to doctors, 34% of Americans will have a significant mental health issue this year. Over the course of their lives, that number raises to 61%. And for many Americans, especially in rural areas, adequate care is a challenge.
Just the number of people that struggle with anxiety and depression alone are enough to say we need to do a better job in the mental health system. We need to be better at identifying people.
Dr. Mental says it's hard to predict which patients will act out on violent impulses. For its part, the NRA broke its silence Tuesday. Its statement reads, "Out of respect for the families and as a matter of common decency, we've given time for mourning, prayer, and a full investigation of the facts before commenting. The NRA is prepared to offer meaningful contributions to help make sure this never happens again." Several governors, including Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, say it's time to have a discussion about arming school officials. It's a complex issue expected to get the full federal treatment in the new year. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
You know, this, what I'm going to say probably will be controversial, but that's nothing new to me. But from all indications, these shooters are cowards. They're little cowards who've got emotional issues. This one kid apparently was afraid of being locked up at a mental institution. His mother was also a little bit deranged. She was concerned about preparing for the apocalypse, and she was teaching her children how to use guns. The truth is, if teachers had guns in classes, these shooters wouldn't come in because they'd be afraid of getting shot themselves. And in those communities where there are enough people, you know, we have examples when a shooter began a rampage, one of the patrons happened to have a gun aimed at it, and the shooter, the crazy person, shot himself and ended the rampage. So I think we need to understand this, and we also need to understand mental health. Mental health is the problem. And you couple that with violence. The violence that's on television today is unbelievable. On the internet, unbelievable. These games that are being sold to teenagers, unbelievable. The violence and the carnage that takes place. And we use terms like, well, we blew him away. Well, that sort of sounds like gentle and kind, but blowing him away means you take his life with a weapon. And this callousness toward life and death has got to be changed. And if we want to do something in America, change the tenor of Hollywood, change the tenor of those who are doing the video games, and then let the citizens be sufficiently armed so that these cowards will know that if they begin to go on a rampage, they themselves will find swift justice. That would be the best way of handling it. Well, even as the world searches for government solutions, many Christians say the real answer is found in God. Lee Webb has more on that from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
And Pat, you know, the question always arises, where is God in all of this, and what role does Satan play in these events? We spoke to Dr. Russell Moore about that. He is a dean at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville.
I mean, the power that Satan has is not only that kind of violence that we have seen over and over again and that we've seen so clearly this week, but the power that he has is primarily that of accusation, where there's no hope, where the final word is a word that comes through a murderer's gun or comes through Roman spikes in crucifixion. The gospel says there's another word behind that life is better than death. There is evil out there, but we believe that the light has overcome the darkness.
And that light, of course, is Jesus Christ. Dr. Russell Moore adds that when the light of the world came to Bethlehem 2,000 years ago, the devil tried to snuff it out. King Herod, of course, ordered the murders of young boys. So evil has always been part of this world since the fall. And by the way, you can find more of our interview with Dr. Russell Moore at our website, cbnnews.com. Well, a new report blames the State Department for failures in the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. That report is by the Independent Accountability Review Board. It blames grossly inadequate security and overdependence on Libyan militias. The report cites a failure of leadership in 2 bureaus of the State Department, and it points out that officials did not improve security conditions after several prior incidents there. And State Department officials in Washington denied requests for more security. A French psychiatrist is found guilty of manslaughter after his patient killed a man. It is considered a groundbreaking case, and it could affect the way patients are treated in the future. A court said Daniel Canarelli committed a grave error by failing to recognize the danger posed by his patient. Reuters reports the patient killed a man with an axe 20 days after fleeing from a consultation with Canarelli. Canarelli was given a 1-year prison sentence in order to pay 8,500 euros to the victim's children. In the fight over abortion, some accuse pro-lifers of focusing only on the child and not caring about the mother. Well, now a clinic across from Denver's Planned Parenthood is proving those accusers wrong. Here's Paul Strand.
Some 15,000 to 16,000 women get abortions in Colorado during the average year, many of them right here. For years now, the second largest abortion clinic in America has been churning out dozens of the procedures every day here in this Denver neighborhood. But now, they have a competitor. The Lighthouse Women's Center sits just across the street with its sign in full view of almost anyone heading to Planned Parenthood. It offers women an alternative to abortion, along with help for their unexpected pregnancy in the form of ultrasounds, counseling, medical care, and supplies. Monsignor Bernard Schmitz, who's prayed and protested outside Planned Parenthood, told CBN News he's overjoyed at the Lighthouse Clinic opening.
Some of the girls and the men who come here because they think it's the only alternative they have.
Lighthouse's executive director agrees the new center represents hope.
This is like last chance for gas for 1,000 miles for these girls. It's crucial because they could turn down that road, see our sign, and something could still touch their heart, even at the very last second, as they're contemplating abortion for their baby.
Nurse sonographer Paula Sewer wanted to perform ultrasounds here and make a positive impact on each pregnant woman or girl that comes through the door.
It's such a crucial time for her. There's never really a mundane day because they're really life-changing decisions, and it's an honor really to be able to be part of something like that for somebody.
Grandin says Lighthouse follows in a 2,000-year tradition of Christians fighting to save babies.
The ancient Romans would throw away the babies they didn't want. They'd put them out in the street or out in the wilderness to freeze to death, or for wild animals to kill them. But Christians observed that even 2,000 years ago, and they rescued those babies and raised them as their own. And that made such an impact on a lot of the Romans that it caused them to convert.
While Monsignor Schmidt supports the Planned Parenthood protests, he's happy that Lighthouse provides a real alternative for those contemplating abortion.
It's not just some people gathered on a corner, but there's a place where they can go. There's a place where they can be received. There's medical services there. There's honest, good people there.
And Sewer says prayer follows each visitor to Lighthouse.
Our encounter might be brief, but we don't forget them. And of course, God doesn't forget.
In these desperate times, many women may feel there's no alternative but abortion. But that's what the Lighthouse Women's Center has come to Denver to show and to prove. No woman should give up hope, and she should never give up on her baby. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Denver, Colorado.
Amen, Paul. Great story, and Pat, hats off and praise the Lord for the courageous work of these workers.
You know, there was a man on television who was a Catholic priest, Father Keller, very wise, wonderful man, and his statement rings through. It's better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. And it's so easy to go out and protest and curse this and curse the other. But there in Denver, they're lighting a candle. Much, much better.
A Florida man is accused of plotting a terror attack on a landmark in New York City. Race Alam Kazi faced a judge at a detention hearing in South Florida Tuesday. Federal prosecutors say the 20-year-old Pakistani hatched a plot with his older brother, but they didn't have the money or bomb-making components to carry out the attack. Prosecutors say Kazi was motivated by the lectures of the radical cleric Anwar al-Awlaki, who was killed by a U.S. drone strike in Yemen, and he was trying to avenge al-Awlaki's death. Thousands of Egyptian protesters marched on the presidential palace and Tahrir Square in Egypt Tuesday. They're protesting the Islamist-backed draft constitution. The demonstrations came after charges of widespread voting irregularities during the first round of voting on that document. Some women and Christians were blocked from voting, we're told. The historic referendum is running in 2 stages. The second stage is scheduled for December 22nd. We will provide details of that voting. You can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.org.